and shouldn't sit back while countries like China and Russia try and occupy this space. So I'm encouraged by this committee's thoughtful discussion and its action. Mr. Collinson, as a leader, both as co-founder and now CEO at Stripe, you're on the forefront when it comes to financial innovation. In fact, you know what technology looks like because you've been doing it. Over the next decade, I believe we'll see a dramatic shift towards real-time, data-driven payments and deeper integration of the financial services, and candidly, in everyday life. By passing a stable act, we can unlock a wave of American leadership in digital payments, all while upholding our nation's high standards of consumer protections. Could you talk to us here about how you see the payments landscape evolving over the next 5 years, and what role stablecoins might play in shaping that future?
Well, I think you summarized it very nicely yourself just there. I would maybe briefly add, first, I think there are immense opportunities within the US to make things cheaper, more efficient, faster, easier to use. The US today is one of the most expensive countries in the G20, I think the most expensive, in fact, for just basic money movement functionality. There's also a World Bank report this year showing that not only are remittance costs quite high, but they're actually increasing rather than decreasing over time. So there's a lot of opportunity here. And then I think the second angle that's very compelling is the global access to dollars, which is going to enhance the status of the dollar as the world's preeminent reserve currency. And that has geopolitical benefits. It also has straightforward fiscal benefits in lowering U.S. borrowing costs. And so I think the benefits are very extensive.
And I think an important point to drive home here is this is American dollar-backed stablecoins, which really help drive this space. God forbid we ever get into a renminbi-backed stablecoin or ruble-backed stablecoin or whatever else is going to be out there. Being able to help drive this as part of our economic engine here in the United States, along with the security that comes with that, puts us in the driver's seat for decades to come. Thank you. Ms. Butler, you're head of digital assets at BNY. You operate globally. You've seen a lot of this stuff take place. However, your experience is working in other jurisdictions, particularly Europe, London, Singapore, others, compared to what we've got here in the U.S.
Thank you very much for the question. There's increasing clarity in other jurisdictions that enable us to actually meet the needs of our clients in a more real way. With clarity coming out of the proposal here, we'll be able to do the same and apply our services to US dollar stablecoins, not just in the traditional space that we do today, but also increasingly across the whole spectrum of payment services related to stablecoins.
And I would agree with you. Our inability to get some kind of framework here has driven great innovators, investors, and opportunities to the Caribbean, to London, to Singapore, and in worst case scenarios is actually pushing them into the arms of Pyongyang, Beijing, and Russia. Look, Ms. House, you and I got to serve together on a number of national security aspects. Would you agree with me that lack of clarity in this area or lack of regulation could potentially jeopardize the future of America's ability to be competitive in this space?
Yes, I think it already has.
With that, the lack of opportunity, I know Stable Act may not be exactly what you are looking at, but could you talk to us about some of the things that you think the Stable Act is driving and building out that framework?
Absolutely. There's some points of commonality with other legislation that I like. And I know I've referenced the McHenry-Waters legislation. So things like the one-to-one, high-quality liquid like reserve requirements is really great. The restriction on reapplication of assets is good. The reference to cybersecurity controls in the wake of $1.5 billion hacks that have happened lately. So I think that there's some good measures that are in there. There's just some other areas that I think bipartisan legislation that's been worked on in this committee can actually help fill the gaps on.
Ms. House, and thank you for your work at the Atlantic Council. I do believe this is a bipartisan issue. More importantly, it's an American issue. If America doesn't start leading in this area, we have the opportunity to bleed out. Mr. Carrilla, you have highlighted here in our time left, I want to give you a little more time to talk about, I look at illicit financing as being a real challenge in this space. How could Stable Act actually help us clamp down on illicit financiers?
Well, I think, first of all, it sets a set of rules for AML, KYC, and BSA, which does not exist today for all issuers, and it also, I think, sets this floor for what people will be able to do and how they will issue on a global basis, so for international issuance as well.
Very good. Thank you very much for the time today, Mr. Chairman.